So today we're going to talk about waterless hand purifiers, or hand sanitizers, or instant hand sanitizers. They're all pretty much the same. They're all for using to clean your hands of germs when there is no running water or soap available. Did you know, according to the CDC, about 80% of all infections are spread through the hands, making hand hygiene the most significant in public places where you can't get soap and water. I've never been a big fan of hand sanitizers, but then again I lived in the country. Now that I'm in the big smoke, I've had a need to use hand sanitizers now. But some of the reasons, and I found a blog post by Wellness Mama. If any of you don't know, she's been a blogger writing about health and wellness for probably about a decade now. If you want to find anything natural, she's usually natural and healthy and homemade. She's usually got something out there. So I just want to read some of the things that she's written in this blog post. She writes, I can see the appeal of killing 99.9% of germs when you have a family of small children, and illness for one usually means illness for all. Still, it's helpful to understand some reasons why the antibacterial label popping up on all kinds of soaps, wipes, and cleaners might not be the solution it seems to be. Reason 1. Using hand sanitizer to keep the flu away. It won't work. Antibacterial soaps kill bacteria, not viruses. Hand sanitizers and soaps don't do a thing for the viruses many people use them to prevent. Reason 2. It may be true that antibacterial products kill 99.9% of germs, but that 0.1% is the most potentially harmful, since it can resist antibacterial agents. Something to think about. This small percentage that survives then breeds and passes on its antibiotic resistance to its offspring, creating lines of superbugs that resist antibiotic use. This may be one factor in the dramatic increase in strains like MRSA. Reason 3. Triclosan, the chemical in most antibacterial soaps, has been shown to interact with chlorine in the water to form chloroform gas. On top of that, it has been shown to be a hormone disruptor, especially in children. I'm glad it's been phased out from so many products, but I'm skeptical it solves the issue. In all three of these, none of them have triclosan in them. Reason 4. Some evidence shows that kids who grow up in an overly sterile environment have higher rates of allergies and asthma than kids who don't use antibacterial products as much. Exposures to different types of bacteria, especially early in life, helps kids' immune systems to develop. So there's sort of some of the reasons why that are on par with me. She just writes it so much better than I can. Why I've never really been partial to it, but since moving to the city, well, in the west, I think we're like 15 kilometres from the CBD, catching public transport, I think the first time we caught public transport, my daughter came back the next day. She had a 24-hour bug, fever of 40, massive sweats and whatnot, just from being on the train. And on that note, my son, who, if you don't know my son, he is metro mad, and he has insight into metro information. He's done work experience there, and he does a lot of research. The metro trains only get cleaned properly, like, we're not just talking about picking up the rubbish, we're talking about clean, like wiping down the poles and the seats and whatnot. They get cleaned every 6 to 8 weeks. Okay, and now we did a bit of a calculation. For one carriage on a train, so one carriage carries about 150 to 200 people. So a whole train, because there's so many different ones, so this is a rough estimate, carries 1,000 people in like one journey from start to finish. It's probably more people getting on and off, but if it was full from the start to the end, 1,000 people. During the peak period from 7 to 9 in the morning, from all the lines coming from the east, the north, the west, there's about 250 trains that come through to Flinders Street in the morning. So you multiply that by the amount of people on there, and then, you know, every day at that time, Monday to Friday, for 6 to 8 weeks. There's a lot of germs and viruses, for that matter, going on in those trains. I don't know what the trains are. The trams or the buses are, because he's not into those. But that's the trains for you. So using a hand purifier when you're getting off the train, after you've tapped off your Mikey, after you've gone up the escalators or whatever, is, you know, actually quite beneficial. I've not got sick since starting to use that. But we don't want to be using just any old hand sanitizer, because, like I said, I actually bought these. This was $1 from the reject shop, and I will probably tip it out and just use the container, because it's cool. You can hang it on your bag. And this was, what was it? $3.50 from Coles. And then you've got this little baby, which is $3.90 each. The main ingredient in all these is denatured alcohol. Now, I don't know if you know what denatured alcohol is, but I actually Googled it. And I'll read it from Wikipedia. If you can see that, Wikipedia. Denatured alcohol, also called methylated spirits or denatured rectified spirit, is ethanol that has additives to make it poisonous, bad tasting, foul smelling, or nauseating to discourage recreational consumption. Okay? Now actually this one actually says that it's ethyl alcohol. When I googled ethyl alcohol, it basically means denatured alcohol. So they've all got, their first ingredient is metho. Now if anyone has ever used metho straight on their hands, they'll realize how drying it is. But clearly that's the most potent component that helps to kill off germs, because it's pure alcohol. So with that in mind, what do they add to it so that it doesn't dry out your hands? Well, with the thieves, there are other ingredients. There's aloe vera, which is the third ingredient. So what, I think it's alcohol, water, aloe vera, glycerin. So if you're familiar with glycerin, it's actually it's moisturizing. And then there's one ingredient which I didn't know what it was. It's called, let me get this right, hydroxypropyl cellulose. And when I looked it up, I have a little app here called it's not going to show you. Come on, go on there. It's called the Chemical Maze, if you can read that. That's what it looks like. It's not going to focus in, no. Anyway, it looks like that, the Chemical Maze. It's about, when I got it, about 6-7 years ago, it was about $5. So in the Chemical Maze, it'll actually tell you like food ingredients and cosmetic ingredients, like chemical ingredients. It'll have everything in there. And so I looked this up in the cosmetic ingredient, and I couldn't find it. It wasn't there. And for some reason, I looked it up in the food part of it, and it comes up there as a stabilizer. So basically, the hydroxypropyl cellulose, you can eat that because it's approved for food. It's all it is a stabilizer. It makes everything sort of like gargum almost, where it's mixes it all and keeps it all together. So it's a food additive, and it's actually used, because I looked it up, it's number 463. So if you see 463 on your dairy-based desserts like yogurts, yogo, stuff like that, maybe cheesecakes, you will see 463 on it. So, and then everything else is essential oils. Peppermint, clove, cinnamon, lemon, eucalyptus, rosemary. That's it. That's all that's in it. Too simple. Like, really, really simple. I love this stuff. But I brought these other ones because I wanted to compare, to show you. Now, I did look up some of the ingredients. With this one, I wrote down the ones that are quite bad. Triethylamine. Okay, and it's got a sad face. So when I look that up in my app, it gives me a red sad face. One of the main concerns is that it gives contact dermatitis. Ironically, you're putting this on your hands, so you don't want contact dermatitis. It has propylene glycol. I'm not sure if you're aware of propylene glycol, but it's quite, it's not good. It's derived from petroleum or petrol, and it can cause, one of the things it can cause is contact urticaria, which is basically a severe rash. It's quite severe. It also has tocopherol acetate, which may contain harmful impurities. Now, that was a questionable ingredient. Now, these are the 3 ingredients that it actually had listed. I'll go into more with the ones that weren't in the app. I couldn't find them in the app, but there were other ingredients like carbama. I did that one, didn't I? Yep, propylene glycol. Yep. This one also has aloe vera, but it's down the bottom. The Dettol brand has, it has some of the same as the other one, but some of the different ones were PEG, PPG 17-6. I don't even know what that is, but PEGs, if you've looked them up, are basically a form of propylene glycol, petroleum based. They're really bad and toxic, penetrate. Yeah, just terrible. Like I'll show you. I'll look up PEG in here, PEG, because I can't remember. PEG compounds. So you can read that PEG compounds of polyethylene glycol, petroleum device, caution advised, has various functions. They can be used in lots of different things. May be contaminated with ethylene oxide, dioxin, and PAHs. Yeah, like bad stuff. So propylene glycol again is in here, and I can't even say it. Limonene, which hasn't been assessed for safety in cosmetics. Can cause sensitization, skin, eye and lung irritation, wildlife, environmental toxicity. And it's in a number of different things. Now I'll get to, there was a lot of ingredients in here like, okay, that weren't in here. Acrylate cross polymer, I can't even say this, tetrahydroxopropyl ethylene diamine. If I caption this, I'll write it correctly. They weren't in my little app. This app, if anyone knows, was actually in book form. Bill Strantham wrote the book. He's from Gippsland. He's a Gippsland scientist, I think it was. Hang on a minute, about the chemical maze, it was in here. I'll read a paragraph from here, which was 5th paragraph. It says, in the introduction to the 2nd edition of the Chemical Maze book, I wrote briefly about the chemical soup that surrounds all of us. That book was published in 2002, and thousands more chemicals have been added to the mix in the last 13 years. So this must have been released in 2015. I thought I had it longer than that. Oh well. One database holds about 25 million chemical names. The inadequate testing of chemical substances is as real today as it ever has been, and some of these substances end up in our foods and cosmetics. This app was actually last updated 3 years ago. So, and at that time, only 60 food additives were updated to it. So in the last, even according to this, how many more chemicals have been added? So my logic is that if I can't find it in this app, it means it hasn't been around long enough. Because if it had, it would be in here, just like propylene glycol is in here, just like the SLSs are in here. They've been around and we know they're toxic. So new chemicals that they're adding to products, if they're not in my app, it means they're new. And that means that really we are the guinea pigs. We're guinea pigging for the chemical industry. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to be a guinea pig. So yeah, it's a really good app if you want to actually. I had to look on Google Play and it's like $10.99 for the app, but it saves a lot. You don't have to go Googling and looking through Wikipedia for it. This has one ingredient that is probably, well, actually no ingredients that's questionable. The only one that's really is your denatured alcohol. So denatured alcohol, aloe vera, glycerin, food additive number 463, and then a list of essential oils. That's how good it is for you. I'm going to revert back to the Wellness Mama post, blog post she wrote. She doesn't recommend denatured alcohol on children because I can't remember what it said. It doesn't, because basically because the alcohol dries the skin of kids. I'm not going to tell you what to do and don't do with your own kids. You can make that choice. You can read a blog post, but she does have an actual recipe in here, which basically is aloe vera gel and essential oils. That's it. So yeah, I have the big tub and the little tub. I now have 7 of these. All my kids have one in their bags that they take with them. I have one in each of my bags, so I've always got it if they forget. And every time I have tapped off and I've gone up the escalator, depends on where it is, but basically I'm free of that zone, I put a little bit. Now it says to put a small, but I only found, hang on, where's the camera? I put about that much. You can see, no, you can't see it. I only use about that. And I find that is enough, like that. When you use the pump, actually quite a lot comes out, so I only sort of like slowly, like that. That's a half a pump. But I use the big pump to fill my little bottles, which makes it really easy. This is a super long video. I didn't want it to be super long, but I wanted to educate you. So it's just like pump, 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 pump. Done. Super. Too easy. Ready to go in the bag. They come, you get one in your starter kit. So you already get one of these, so you get one, or you can buy them in a 3-pack, which is actually quite good value. But I do recommend getting enough for what you need and then buying the bigger pack and just refilling them. It's really, the only thing that it says, the caution, well actually it says a lot of caution because it's got alcohol in it, but keep it out of the sun, okay? Keep it out of the sun, and I'm assuming that's because it gets rid of the essential oils evaporate. So till next time, and I do another video, but that's your Thieves Waterless Hand Purifier.